It's pretty bad over here
Mumbai
as
is
well.
also bad.
Uh,
Mumbai is also bad.
Actually, I'm in Lower Parel, so there's only construction in my area.
Oh,
So it's as bad as anything.
some Nabil is in as well. Hi Nabil.
Hi, Akhil.
Hey
Hi,
Nabil.
Satya.
Hey,
Hi,
Nabil.
everyone. Hey, Mario, Sai,
Hi,
Evan.
everyone.
So much people out here. How's it going?
All good, all
Great.
good.
Sorry, I just got a little bit late. I think one of the calls just went up for a little longer. But yeah, I hope
Yeah.
you're all good.
All
Yes.
good.
Yes. Everyone is here. So let's start the discussion. We're four
Okay.
people from four different industries here. There's Mario, who's leading enterprise AI development, tech development at Teradata. There's Mr.
Okay.
Gus, who is handling the He's the head of partnerships at My Seller Central, which is
Okay.
that's working in AI agentic commerce, which is in itself a completely new direction of work. Then there's Satyajit, who is a founder, of course, but he's also leading the charge for Build Club here in India, and he's got a crazy vision. So we'll discuss on that. And then there's Nabil, who's leading one of the top agencies in Mumbai and across India as well. The idea that Nabil has in mind, with the vision that he has, it is again as crazy as Satya thinks about the Build Club thing. So that's the
Mm.
core of it. And I'll quickly introduce all the four of you as much as I am able to, right? So, welcome. I am the moderator for today. My name is Akhil Chandna. Namaste. I also run an AI consulting company called IK Automation that helps businesses transform in an AI first era. I also get a chance to lead Mumbai City as the AI enabler alongside Satyajit from the panel. So, yes, we are city leads for Mumbai Build Club. What Build Club is, it's a global e-learning platform and community that's dedicated to training the next generation of AI builders. It provides practical project-based education and a marketplace connecting AI talent with businesses needing solutions. So we've got the individual section over here as well as we working with organizations as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, let me invite and present all the four panelists that we have on the screen today. There's Mr. Puneet Jain, who is the head of partnerships at My Seller Central.
Hi.
He heads the team for partnerships. He heads the teams for agentic commerce and autonomous e-com. Now,
Wow, nice.
they are, let me tell you, a completely new age race in a way, AI in agentic commerce. So you'll be very excited with the amount of new knowledge that's going to come in, wisdom that's going to come in from Mr. Puneet.
Thank you. Thanks for
Welcome, sir.
inviting me.
Hi,
Then,
Puneet.
then we have Mr. Mario Rosario. He's the chief of tech enablement at Teradata. Teradata is a 2.7 billion US dollar market cap IT enterprise. He leads them into the age of AI, ensuring enterprise governance and legacy evolution remain at the forefront of evolving an enterprise that big. And he's also a very popular podcaster. He hosts a podcast called the Pineapple Podcast. So welcome Mario as well.
Thank you.
Hi, Mario.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Mario.
Then we have Mr. Nabil Merchant, the CEO of one of India's biggest digital agencies, as I said, Howl. His key focus in the age of AI is building AI nativity into his own business and ensuring they enter the next decade ready to dominate. So, real hands off scaling is what he describes his core vision as, and we'll hear a lot from him regarding this specific agency space and the entire service business industry. Right? Welcome, Nabil.
Thank you, Akhil. Thank you, Akhil.
And we finally have Mr. Satyajit Roy, three times founder, author, and leading Mumbai City for Build Club. For him, I'll only share his vision statement, and that should tell you a lot about him. In the next 3 years, he envisions skilling 10 million Indians
Wow.
and making them
Mm.
become AI digital natives.
And
And I think that's a wow statement from you,
Yeah,
Satya.
that is, yeah. I mean, Satya
I think
always, I've known Satya for a while, so he always looks at the largest North Star ever. So, yeah. It's amazing.
Thanks for that introduction, Akhil. Glad to be here on the panel.
Yeah.
You're trying 10 million people.
Yeah,
Okay.
so basically,
Okay.
that's about a
That'd be
crore, right?
nice.
That's about a
India
Yeah.
crore.
has a India has a
Yeah.
many
That's a
crore
crore. That's a
population, so
crore.
it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
not that
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
also, like in comparison to the country. So
Yeah.
it's a
No,
starting
makes
point. I would
sense.
say if we can get there, it would be a good place, not just for
Yeah.
the individuals but for the country as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So let's start with you, with Satya. Skilling 10 million Indians is an incredible target.
Hmm.
So, in your view, what is the missing link in the current education that makes this necessary? Because this is a big statement. A crore is still a crore, right? A crore is a very
Yeah,
big number.
yeah, yeah.
So, is it that universities are too slow, or that the curriculum is fundamentally wrong, uh, that you're wanting to do this at this scale?
Let me put this in an analogy, from my life and how I kind of got into AI and why I'm so
Mhm.
determined to like help other people, reap the same benefits that I have kind of reaped. So I had dropped out of my computer engineering 20 years back. I was in MIT Pune. Unfortunately, I was unable to complete my studies at that time. This time, when the lockdown happened, I found myself with a lot of free time on my hands. And luckily, I had a mentor who was willing to spend some time guiding me on, learn this, don't learn this. So, cut down my learning a bit short. But just as I had learned, I would say the first two levels of like intermediate level of coding, ChatGPT came out, right? It came out. It was a free service. It was available to everyone. I could just log in. I didn't even could just log in with my email address, and something incredible was that I could just copy the code that I had and paste it into ChatGPT, and it would give me the right answer. And like I just kept doing that back and forth, and I was so amazed myself because I'm not a technical. Like I said, I had failed my engineering, so I'm not a technical person by any means, right? So for me it was just that a whole new avenue opened up for me in the sense that the barriers that I thought, and being an entrepreneur myself, I have seen how to build businesses in the past, but not ever been on the product side of the business. But now, since I had this, additional new skill, I was able to understand things that I could never even think of starting to understand before. So for me also, it was like a huge upgrade, I would say. And ever since the last couple of years, I've been deeply involved in the AI ecosystem, not just in the country, but we've been servicing some clients abroad as well. And coming back to your question, Akhil, like what do I see as the major drawback currently? So I would not say it's a drawback, but I would say we are within we are within a transitional shift of how we kind of do things in business or in the world in general, even in in our social life. So I don't know how long it's going to take for AI to kind of permeate into all the levels of our lives, but I think that we are already seeing it to some level where we are now no longer using Google search, for example, to search for our results. Or if we have access to Gemini, now we're using Gemini instead of Google search to find the results that we were looking for on Google before. So the first mindset that needs to be changed is the consumer's mindset that, okay, I'm okay to use this thing. And what's the great thing that has happened over the last few years is that as newer models have been released and as the models have got more intelligent, that trust factor has gone up considerably. And also, in addition to that, the things that we can do, the functionality, it has been proven to work over time. I'm not saying that we are 100% there yet, or this is the final product, but we're getting there. And getting there in the process, the people using these tools, they really don't need to be educated in many other things. They just need to be able to use it as much to their benefit as possible, right? And I think that's kind of where we are, where we are still figuring out what is working, what is not working. Different things work for different use cases, and I think the main thing is to just start on your journey. So that's my point of view. That's why Build Club. I've been following Build Club since a couple of years. They started in Sydney, Australia, and in the last 2 years, they've spread to 50 cities across the globe, where
Wow.
the only aim here is to get education into the people's hands. Like we have a platform where you can sign up, you attend one of our events, you get access to the platform. Most of it is free. We have like micro learning classes on most of these tools like Lovable, Lindy, many of the other tools available, state of
Yeah.
the art tools.
Yeah.
And That's the kind of access that can really accelerate a person's personal or professional growth. So I think the faster one starts to at least start using it in their daily life, AI wherever possible, I think the better it will be going forward, because I see a huge shift happening from the way we currently do things.
That is that is quite how you summarize this, the shift that's happened over the last years.
Hmm.
Proper. But on top of that, again a question pops. See, with
Yeah,
AI tools changing every 6 months,
correct.
how do you teach a curriculum that doesn't become obsolete by the time the student finishes the course? And
Right.
are you teaching tools, or then are you teaching AI thinking?
So I think it goes both ways. So on the platform, you get access to not only tools, you get access to talks as well, and AI education from some of the biggest names in the field. So what this allows you to do is get a different perspective, because they are the experts in the field. They have access to way more data, way more knowledge than we do have access to. So they may have a more deeper perspective on how things are maybe 6 months down the line. So it's always important to kind of keep up with things. And I absolutely agree with you that things are changing way too fast, like what was relevant. And since I've been in it, and since it came out, since ChatGPT came out publicly, I've been deep in it. So I've been seeing the changes, and it's not like I'm saying that like I said, this is not the final product. We're getting to the final product, and along the way, we as humans are learning how to adapt ourselves into the best way of using this technology. So, we were not, Excel sheets came into existence maybe 50, 70 years ago, right? Humans shouldn't be judged on how well they make a Excel sheet, or like how well they make a presentation. I think the humanness of, the more humanness of our humanity is going to be exposed because of AI. We're going to have a lot more human things to do. Like what we consider right now as work is a lot of machine based things that can now be kind of automated. So yeah, I think it's exciting times, but also like I understand where the fear is coming from. It's just important to be open to learning, and once you have that learning mindset, you also like take pleasure in learning new ways of doing things, or trying out new things. So that's my point of view on it.
I think we four of us agree on the same, and that is why we are
Absolutely.
here in the first place as well. We're building something that's taking us into that direction. That's awesome. So, moving from the education at population scale, let's move to the agency part of thing and how it's working on the ground in big cities and how it works, right? So, Nabil, being a leader in the agency world, hands-off scaling, as you call it, sounds like the holy
Mm.
grail. But where does
Yeah.
that quality
Yeah.
control happen, and what is it exactly that you want to propagate through hands-off scaling?
Look, I'm going to speak, purely in the context of, running a services company, right? Now, in India, primarily we've been a service-oriented culture, right? We're more, the first thing that we run towards as a business is let's, build a services company, right? Where I can essentially provide some services, either in tech, either in creative, either in consulting, and immediately trade hours, for money, right? And then you look at that at scale, essentially, right? Like, and now this whole concept, obviously lends us to having different kinds of models that are being built out, for corporates, SMEs, different companies at different stages to be able to harness the power of human intelligence in India to be able to build what they're building essentially, right? Now, in our case, I run Howl, which is a full stack digital marketing company with a team of 100 of us, right? Building such a unit, right, with so many different faculties, like I would say creative design, content strategy, performance, tech, media. My gosh, there's a number of things. After being in space for more than 15 to 16 years, like I'm just like, how much more is actually going to come our way, right? And it's just more and it's just increasing more and more. Now you have video, which is such a large piece, right? And so on and so forth, right? Um, and one of the things that the space that I am in, again, I'm talking, mainly in the context, the space that I am in, right, is that um, most companies, entrepreneurs are looking towards outfits like us to deliver on business metrics, right? And business metrics is essentially uh, pretty much two things. Either I'm saving costs for your company, right, and I can measure that and build an attribution towards that, or I'm being able to increase your revenue and obviously keeping your EBITDAs and your profitability in check. This is essentially what it is, right? And being able to gain more audience, right? Now, now this concept, right, is so the younger audience therefore has suddenly had to pick up on multiple things while they're growing at the same time. It's not, just a designer is not going to be rewarded. Someone who's a designer who can actually look at data and actually make sense of it is going to be rewarded, right?
Yes.
A person who can run an ad console in Google is not going to be rewarded. Someone who can actually run the ad console and actually also find a sharp way of being able to write copy for that ad, or at least have the conceptual difference of being able to what needs to be written, is going to be rewarded, right? So now you have a breed of individuals who do not have to only focus on one skill; they have to focus on a couple of skills. Wherein, in my opinion, in the age of hybrid, right, a hybrid set of resource skill sets are required, right? And that's the requirement. Now, how is this made possible? Suddenly, you now throw AI into the mix, right? AI has now been able to solve a lot of such issues, right? And therefore, the way I see it is that, and it's not just me. I think it's pretty much leaders across the world, right? We've seen this in some of the largest consulting firms and so on and so forth. Right? Reports are generated in. I remember how hard it used to be for us to be able to make those beautiful, nice reports. 3 to 4 working days. It's being made in approximately an hour and a half, 2 hours, right? Am I using platforms? Yes. I don't even know what some of the platforms my own team uses, right? They're just like a bunch of platforms, and I'm just like, get it done. I want to see a pretty report, right? And it's being done, right? So what is done is speed of execution, speed of thinking, speed of going to market, speed of decision making, right? Failing fast is what people used to say is actually now a reality, right? I can actually now really fail fast, right? And have plan B, plan C, plan D in place. So in the context to what we are discussing and how AI is actually changing my world or our world, it's that it is making individuals more smarter, right? It's forcing them. Again, I'm going to use the word forcing them to be able to use everything that's available, whether it's Lovable, N8N, I don't know, Buster. I know some of the platforms that these guys use are just so many that even I keep forgetting the names. And almost every SaaS-based platform is now using AI to build things in. All right. So where the outcome is to be able to make their life easy. All right. So the way I look at it is that we are not going to be adding more humans to it. We're just going to be adding more layers of automation to this entire thing, right? I'm going to give a very specific example so that I don't sound vague, right? And I'll take less than 2 minutes and I'll pass the mic back to Akhil, right? But uh, in our space, business development or essentially outreach is a very very important subject, right? Now. Reaching out to potential customers, right, across different industries is a massive pain point to solve for, right? Typically, you have a business development team. You have 3 to 4 key people who now need to act like consultants. They're reaching out to these users on potential people on LinkedIn, or possibly finding their email ID, running sequential cold emails, and so on and so forth, right? And then reverting, replying, creating an CRM, seeing what is required, and so on and so forth. This is a very painstaking process. It
True.
has always been for donkeys of years, right? What we are trying to do is we've identified a 21-step process for business development, right from actually identifying a lead, right, and then actually closing a particular a
Mhm.
mandate, so to speak, right? And now at data collection, we're trying to use platforms like a Eva Boot or a Phantom Buster, right, and agentic AI to be able to solve the data collection piece. We're then trying to use, a data enrichment tool like Apollo or Lucia or Rocket Reach or Drop. There's so many of them. Why? Because that helps in data enrichment. We're trying to use Notion for lead integration. We're trying to use outreach omni-channel like Buzz or Dripify or instantly.io. uh, then you have lead warm up where I have to basically I want to make sure that there's human intervention, but then also I try to identify an agentic AI. A discovery meeting can be done through Notion, right? The calendar request can be done by someone else and someone else. And then we're trying to be able to scale up this whole platform by putting all these inputs into N8 and stitching up an entire stack where every week we can actually reach out to 500 to 600 potential customers, not only in India but across the world. Now I'm just talking about one use case, and this use case can be applied to creative. This use case can be applied to performance. This use case can be applied to everything, right? So the journey that I am in, and I'm going to conclude at least the question that you asked, Akhil, is that I personally, along with the leadership team at Howl, is trying to look at various problems, gaps, which can be solved very specifically, not just through automation, but through agentic AI, right? And then slowly start scaling all of those processes so that, mundane tasks don't eat up into our time.
That was like a person who has a skin in the agentic game, right?
Yeah.
You told all.
Yeah.
So for one specific GTA motion for your, let's say, sales process, you given an entire roadmap of how it should look like for other agencies as well going forward.
Hopefully.
That was awesome. That was really insightful, not only for me as an automation agency owner, but for I think everyone who wants to run a service
Yeah.
business or ideally think
Yeah.
about a process in their own business, be it a
Yeah.
service business or any sort of.
And just for everyone's knowledge, I'm actually like working with Akhil to be able to solve all this for the company itself only. And he's actually come to office and seen what we are doing. There's a very strong intent, but obviously, right, how we execute and everyone gets caught up in their day to day, and there's just so much to do, right? That we needed his help to, be the calm, in the whole storm that we're trying to build out. So yeah.
I am glad that I am able to work with you, so I don't really have to put in a lot of real work because the intent is already there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's move to Mr. Puneet Jain, who heads partnerships at My Seller Central, a company that's running in the AI agentic e-commerce zone, which is, again, I think a lot of people might be listening for the first time what an AI agentic e-commerce game is, and he'll tell us more about it. I just want to understand from you, sir. Everyone talks about automation, but agentic commerce it implies decision making in a way. So can you give us
Yes.
a concrete example of a decision, like how does it work, and a decision that an AI agent makes in your system today that makes a human manager would have to, probably the human manager would take a year to do that or something like that, right?
Sure. Thank you, Akhil. Of course, Nabil and Satya, they have set the real context from a commerce standpoint, right? He being an agency owner, he actually touched those pain points. That these are the one which people look at. At the moment, agentic commerce means money, right? Nothing
Yeah.
like that. Running some free courses. We are not clearly agentic commerce is clearly, if you look at, it's like your e-commerce manager who is now an agent, right? So that's honestly, and agentic commerce means our AI agents, which is sharing the same responsibility what a e-commerce manager would do, right? Typical example, if you look at what is a e-commerce manager primary role is, right? He's the one who will actually see. You were talking about reports, right? He'll actually see the reports, what SKUs are moving, what SKUs are not moving, what are the ones which are moving really fast, right? Keywords, what keywords we were not bidding, the keywords missing, typical. So it's a typical job of an e-commerce manager. Whether, especially from a marketplace standpoint, your buy box is very, very important to you, right? The moment, and because your 70-80% of your sales that comes from your buy box. If you are missing out,
Yes.
the job of an e-commerce manager to check what is the time frame they are missing on the e-commerce, the checkouts, right?
Yeah.
Last but not least is going to be more to do with that. Look, I have kept my inventory because this is a real commerce, real transaction, and real movement of stuff, right? Whether we need to keep the stuff here, the inventory here, or it has to be moved to a different location altogether, right? So this is all these things what I said, right? So that was a job of an e-commerce manager. Yeah. Now it is the AI agent, what Nabil was mentioning. So this is the agent is the one who will do this job. Unlike typical e-commerce manager who will come and report that this is the problem. Can I take action? Right? Um Here there is no reporting, right? It is the action. So it actually decides. It actually decides now that your product conversion is dropped. What do I do? Shall I rewrite the title or change some images? Right? Clearly, from a pricing standpoint, competitors have dropped the pricing. What do we do? Should we drop it? Of course, you can adjust it within the limits, right?
Lots of
Stock,
decisions. Lots of decisions.
lots of decisioning. Probably the stock part,
Mm,
he is thinking
mm.
probably 72 hours in advance or a week in advance. This is gonna run out. Basically, the trend, this will gonna run out, right? Should I move the stock? Right. So clearly, you rightly asked that what are the decision making, the entire decision making to execution. This is moved to an agent. If you look at typical brand who has to do all this, say e-commerce manager, it manages. So it will need a team of 3 or 4 people. The operation guy who has to manage this stock part, the cataloging guy who will be working on your titles, bullet points, and other things, right? And there will be a lot of Slack messages among each other that I'm doing this. What is going to be the reaction? Should we take the approval? And AI agents, he doesn't create much noise. He's silently working at the background. He's actually making this
Yeah,
work, right?
true.
So that's
Yeah.
a difference. If you look at the automation, it execute, right? The automation execute, but the agents, they are think and act. They'll actually think and act on that. That's what I.
That is a very interesting yet a very novel new concept as well at the moment. And
Right.
so again, such an interesting concept to hear, but then I get two questions over here again, right?
I mean, I have so many questions to ask you,
I
Puneet.
have hundreds, but I get two questions that
Yeah,
come up.
even I've got a lot of questions to ask you because in fact I'm doing an entire mandate with a FMCG company where we're spending approximately around 12 to 15 lakh rupees on Amazon.
Wonderful.
Right. The brand is Rosta, which is a premium dry fruits brand. So I won't bore you too much with my questions, but like
No,
I can already envisage what your system and your platform actually does, right? You're completely eliminating the need of executives to actually man the entire piece, all right?
absolutely.
Yep.
By just essentially giving some real solid business case scenarios that can mimic the revenue piece on Amazon. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Well,
pricing it solves for pricing. I'm guessing it solves for discounts, and it does this automated. I think it solves for stock in stock outs to make sure that you get the Amazon buy
my
box
button.
button,
Yeah.
the buy button. It solves for sponsor. I mean ads as well. Everything essentially, right?
True. True.
It pulls the ads budget down when demand is less and suddenly outbids competitors when you actually need to do so if the
Absolutely.
business case is to be able to generate more revenue and so on and so forth. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yep.
lovely, Puneet. I'm going to
Amazing,
talk to you
amazing.
ASAP after this. Yeah,
After the call, I'll
yeah,
do that. I'll just share every
yeah,
detail.
yeah.
with you all.
Amazing. Yeah,
Certainly.
it's
All
crazy.
right. So the
Yeah,
question that I had, Puneet ji, was see, so for a traditional D2C founder, right, who uses manual oversights right now,
Yeah.
what is the hardest habit to break? Habits are something that transitioning to AI is the part that I've seen a lot of friction with. So, what
Right.
is the hardest habit to break when transitioning to an agentic workflow as you demand?
See, clearly, Akhil, if you look at who is the founder, who has got 100% skin in the game, right? Uh, he is the one who will carry that lens, that micromanaging everything, right? Because the money is involved on every step, right? So, biggest habit, if I need to look at, which a founder has to get away with, is wanting to check everything yourself, right? ये हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, right? Uh, and trusting the agent. Right now, if you look at from a founder's mode, if you look at it, it's clearly that eyeballing every listing that typically a founder will do, right? The how my product is gonna look like, and we're talking to Nabil, right? The creatives also, right? Leave it, right? The creative also has to be approved by the founder himself.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and that FOMO, mera price, your price, right? He'll check almost 10 times during the day. What is the price? What is the fluctuation, right? And then even small things fixing them himself, right? Not required. Not required, right? Um,
Mm.
so
Mm.
within that agent mindset, it actually slows down. You're actually slows down. So right now, if you look at from a founder's mindset, he has to he has to review the actions. He has to review the actions. He is the one.
Yeah.
He has to move away from that or every action. He has to. He's the one who has to set the rules. Actions stay within the brand, whatever the DNA is planning it, right? So clearly, once you define those guardrails, the agent is gonna work towards it. You don't need to focus on them. So
Mm.
Got it. So it is a lot on the founder as well.
100%, 100%. And
Awesome.
Mm.
Awesome. Before we move on to Mario, I have a question that Mario would be proud of, and I have a question to you, Puneet ji, that I'll
Sure.
ask through Nabil's lenses because he's asked a brilliant question that I think might help. So, when moving towards an always-on autonomous model for a founder like Nabil, what is the biggest fear that he'll have for his brands? Is the AI hallucinating or is it misrepresenting the brand? And what guardrails do you put in place to ensure that autonomy doesn't become a liability for a founder like Nabil who's helping brands?
uh, Akhil, this is a pain area for everyone, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a loaded question also.
it's a any brand who has to experiment. Forget brand as an
Mm.
individual also. Do I trust or
Yeah.
I shouldn't, right? Especially now, if you look at the money is involved and the clear fear you rightly said that what if AI messes? It makes the brand look stupid in front of the crowd.
Yes.
Uh, we also feel the same man, right? We are no different, right? So typically, it's like building the guardrails for a brand laws, right? So you have those laws. The moment you do so, there are that's IPC and other laws for us to run a civic follow the civic sense. Likewise, you have to build the brand guardrails, right? Those laws. So this is which is a mandate for AI agent not to break. It cannot break even if it wants to experiment. Like we are giving some free hand, but it is very clear that these guardrails are your boundaries. You can't uh, go beyond that, right? So one is clearly your so typically it runs in three parts. One is your brand DNA, right? What is the tonality? Is it a fun-loving brand or your playful brand, or is it serious? In case it is a health startup and all, so it is clearly defined within that agent frameworks. What is the tonality of brands to talk about the communication part of it, right?
Yes.
Clearly, what are the claims you are making? If you are into imitation jewelry, you can't claim this is 24 karat gold. So those claims need to be clearly defined, and
Okay.
agent will learn from that, right? So you
Okay.
have defined it, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think guardrails, you're right. I think that's also what we've done in some of our mandates.
Yeah.
Clear
Clear
guardrails is
guidelines, right?
more important than anything else as well,
Yeah.
actually.
And the pricing, as a individual, that this is the bare minimum price point at which I'll be able to sell. Your upper
Hmm.
limit and the lower limit. You have to fix that, and that
Hmm.
needs to be planned
Okay.
clearly, right?
Right.
And then,
Hmm.
lastly but not the least, if you are a healthcare company or something like that, what tones to
Hmm.
avoid? It can't be authoritative, right? It has to be sympathetic one.
Mhm.
Uh,
Hmm.
these are the
Hmm.
guardrails from a brand standpoint, right? And
Hmm.
this is a mandate for an agent to follow. And now, where the human approval will come, right? He was talking about the merchant. Nabil was talking about, yeah, is it changing the title? Okay. So in case of this, it's a product which is worth, it's a considerable substantial amount. Changing the title, it might give it wrong impressions. You can have a human approval. Human approval can come in between, right? Your brand story. Agent cannot rewrite your brand story. You can't let that happen, right?
You
Launching a
can't.
new creative
That's not
or
possible.
touching
Yeah.
compliance part of it
Hmm.
have your approval involved. Human approval, right? Agent can suggest, right?
Can't act on your behalf.
We have to approve.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the human, right? And last but not the least is gonna be your clear transparency, right? Any change, it happens for a reason. You ask me to change this X because I see this will have an impact on Y. Right? So everything has got a reason. So it's like as a e-commerce manager who is telling you to change the price or drop the price because your competition has dropped the price, or you might look at, we are looking a lot of checkout share, right? So it's clearly, so autonomy is there, but it is very very controlled.
Okay.
So that's what I see. So it's like self-driving commerce, but steering wheel is still in my hand to control that.
Precise, sir. I understand there are a lot of challenges that would come as well, but then you all have tried to put in the amount of security and safety that's in essence necessary to help companies like Nabil's get to their brands without feeling the heat.
Yeah, solid guardrails. I'm really happy to hear this, Puneet. I would love to interact post this. Yeah.
Certainly.
I'm
Yeah.
sure Mario, you might be happy with the question I asked. It's around guardrails governance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So let's move to Mario. He's the king of enterprise governance and legacy evolution. He's been there for the longest time at Teradata, and he's guiding them, enabling them as their oracle over there. So, enterprise clients are often torn between the fear of missing out as well. FOMO happens over there, Mario, and the FOMO I think is of moving fast with AI and the terror that comes with data leaks. And I think we discussed that while we were somewhere sitting at a place near the airport. The terror that you have of data leaks. So how does Teradata help a legacy giant innovate without burning to the ground, as you put it?
Yeah, so I'm glad you got Puneet in before me, because for all the reasons he mentioned, you need governance, right? He pointed it out so well, right? So the enterprise is a very different ball game. If you're running a startup, you have more freedom. When you go in and consult with an enterprise, it's a very different, right? You need to abide by their rules, right? There's a very now a caveat before I start. I'm heading technical enablement, which means I train my team trains people across the org. I interact with a lot of consultants. I even interact with people outside the company, right? So that's the expertise. Just wanted to set that right. Now, Teradata, we've all our customers are billion dollar giants. They've been with us for the last 20, 30 years. They've got mainframes. They've got huge systems. They've got terabytes. When a terabyte was a big thing, now it's not a big thing. Now it's petabyte, now it's zettabyte. Our customers still deal with that size of data. So our biggest advantage is scale, and we're still in the game because we do that really well. Now, when you're consulting with the client and you're moving them to this new age, right? So there are a few things we need to ask. Let's just step back, right? Now, if you look at 2017, 18, there was ML and AI then, right? I mean, there was ML. People were, in fact, a lot of our customers, right, the ones in food and beverage, healthcare, we deployed
Yeah, there
models.
was.
We
Yeah.
deployed models for them, right? All these, XGBoost, random forest, Markov chains, and those are in production, giving them the results they want. And those models, and they've got thousands of those models, right, for churn, and all those models are feeding into a dashboard, and they've got visuals, and they've set it up over the years, right, nicely. Now, how do you sell the agentic story to them, right? The first thing they're going to ask is, what are you going to give me which I don't already have? Number one. Number two, just look back. Those models were not done with any big cost. I mean, they could fly with a CPU, couldn't they? Nobody spoke about high processing compute needed for that. More people got onboarded. Hey, now it's in Python. We can easily learn, right? Now, when you come to agentic,
Yes.
right? Now there's a different game altogether, right? So now, oh my God, there's an infrastructure cost. I need to have large. Oh, okay. If you don't want to have large language models, fine. Let's use an OpenAI API. Oh gosh, that costs too. That costs a lot, right? So all of a sudden, cost has become a factor, right? Because before they never thought of it. Oh, now there's infrastructure costs we have to think about. Number one. Number two, the guardrails, which Puneet so rightly said. In those days, right? I mean, just look at the examples I gave you for food and beverage. You didn't really need to think about hallucination, did you? Nothing was going to be hallucinated in, right? Now, because this amazing thing which came up in 2023, ChatGPT. We can sit the whole day and keep asking ChatGPT Claude questions, and we can tell ourselves we are learning. Of course we are, but then when it goes to the enterprise, it's a very different game, right? And for that reason, like Puneet said, when we talk to customers, we need red teaming in place. So you have to have red teaming teams which put these guardrails and check. Okay, And which means what? Which means now you need a new team to come in. People need to be trained on how to do this, right? And most importantly, now at red teaming, for those who don't know, are like ethical hackers, right? Now you have people who can test these guardrails, like what Puneet says, push them to the limit, ensure that they don't cross over and give you wrong inputs. And this itself could take a lot of time. Now, more importantly, for red teaming, you need to pull in all the parties, right? Very often in the past, a lot of IT could get away with sitting in the silos. I mean, that's another big problem with IT, right? Siloized data. Everybody in different teams having their own tech all over the place. And now when you bring agentic, and you say, oh, data is scattered. Guess what? 10 years ago, data was scattered. Before that, it in enterprise, data is always scattered. There is no ideal situation where it is in all in a, I mean, that's why the industry is still in business. Data is scattered, it's dirty, right? So these are some of the challenges where you need to involve, and here you need to involve all the parties, right? You can't just leave it to the tech team, right? Because if you need to do red teaming, you have to pull in the people who are going to use it, because they are the people who are most worried about this taking away my job. So they need to be convinced that this is actually something which is going to help augment you and probably take you a few steps ahead. Now, interestingly, I'm going to hop on a point with Satyajit said, in his beginning, this is going to free us from what we don't need and help us, because we have forgotten what being human is. So, I'm just going to go off. So I asked myself that question when you made that point. So what is being human? I mean, if you ask anyone coming out today, being human is chatting on Instagram, is putting up reels, is communicating on social media. That is what being human is, So maybe the whole notion of what being human is itself has to be rewritten along with the whole tech stack, which is changing along with the agentic AI. So maybe what we go back to is not the same as what we consider the norm anymore.
Very nicely put. Very nicely put.
I think it is enterprise knowledge plus life wisdom clubbed together. Right? But a question pops up now. So when we hear about cloud native, I understand that enterprises now, like, you are taking in red taping as well, everything comes in and you have everything in place. But when we hear about cloud native, you see a lot of banks, insurers that the companies work with, right? They still rely on on-premise and mainframes. Their mainframes are still on-premise. So how does Teradata handle the latency and the security of bridging modern LLMs with their archaic on-premise systems? I see that as a gap.
Yeah, so I'll answer both questions. I think there's only one, but I'll extend it, right? So most of our customers are on-premise. Most of them want to be on-premise. When the cloud revolution came, some of them moved some workloads to the cloud. You can rest assured that banks aren't bringing any of their transactions to the cloud. They've got mainframes, they're on-prem, not moving it, not going anywhere. It's going to be there for some time. So the whole thing is, how do you marry these three worlds together, right? On-prem, the cloud, and the large language models, right? Because large language models are sitting in some high performance AI factory. The cloud is somewhere, and they're on. So there are three different worlds here. So our strength has always been trust. So one of our core values are trust. Our product has been, we are one of the biggest data warehouses from the beginning of time. We've got this whole solution stack built around trust. When I say trust, it means transparency. We've got role-based access. Only people who have access to data get to see it. Everything is so clearly defined. We've got industry data models. We've got all of that out there. We've got that for years. Customers have used it. Now, coming into the new world, how do you handhold customers into this new world? The important phrase which you may have seen tossed around by a lot of these giants is this thing called the proof of concept, right? So when you hear people talk about agentic, you always hear them say, what was a recent study which somebody said that only 5% of agentic POCs move into production. There was a study of where they say only 5%. I'm sorry, what was that? Yeah. 5%. Now this is a fact. This is a statistic which one of these agencies has pushed out. I don't know how true or false it is, right? The thing is, they are proof of. So the biggest way to do it is to proof of concept, right? You need to get a bunch of people, you need to get stakeholder buy-in right from the top, and you need to get these people to get a sandbox environment ready. You need them to get their data. Sometimes it has to be synthetic data generated. I need for them to work in this environment, try out the use cases which they want. And in this case, I'm probably going to, Nabil said that, right? Now, some scenarios where move fast and break things will work. Some scenarios, right? Now, for an enterprise organization with many departments where a lot of governance, you need to slow it down because you want this to deploy successfully. Some things we don't want it to entirely take forever, but we'll need to cross the hurdles when we get there, which may mean months of doing this handholding POC, because when we want it in production, the POC is always the first one in. If the POC is successful, others will follow, right? So the POC going smooth, we really can't take a move fast and break things approach, although in some cases it's warranted, because it has to be move fast and not fail. This
Yeah.
cannot fail under any circumstance, because this is going to be the lamppost for everyone else to follow. So these are the approaches which we take, and we've actually got a new product out this year. It's called the AI Factory. We're looking forward to helping large enterprises move into the cloud, integrating with NVIDIA's GPUs. Of course, there will be a cost with it. GPUs do cost. So enterprises are looking to augment their capability with GPUs because agentic is in. And although you may think that enterprises are slow to adopt, they don't want to be left out of this game because there's just too much to lose. So yes, this is how you tackle enterprise clients. You need to handhold them with these. You need to drive these POCs to success, because one POC succeeds, the other teams will follow.
Yes.
I mean, Mario, I totally agree with you in terms of the enterprise part of it. I do have one question though. Like you mentioned, like there's multiple stakeholders, right, when an enterprise is involved. And the challenging, and I absolutely agree with your approach that the handholding is required, and it's better to go slow and prove that it's working rather than move fast. And then, because even the smallest point of contention when it comes to regulatory and compliance things, it can be a deal breaker. And like especially for example BFSI sector, that is something that is a major pain point, right? So how do you go about navigating them, because there are various stakeholders that are there in the organization, and they need to come to a consensus for this to kind of go ahead, even post POC point of view, right? So is there any tricks that you use, or how is it that you can reach out to enterprises? Because I know that they want to get there, but sometimes there's just so many heads involved that it doesn't land up going ahead.
So you need to have somebody at the top who really wants it badly. Number one.
Right.
Number two, you need to have, now the number one is important. The number two is more important. You need to have somebody on top who really wants it badly and who has budget.
Has a
That's
budget.
more
Yeah,
important,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because once you cross these two things out, then there's a will for it to happen, right? Now, now I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's so many things. Now, I'm going to go back to the cost since you mentioned it, right? So cost is an important thing, right? Because see, it's not only GPUs. I know I didn't mention GPUs. There's this new thing called the token, right? Now, whenever you use an LLM, you're going to be charged for token, right? So when you do red teaming, your prompts, what is the size of your now, all of a sudden, you're going to be charged on a token by token basis. So how are you going to work out the costing for that, right? Now, all that costing is eventually going to funnel back to the top, to somebody who looks at the budget and says, okay, I'm investing in this agentic tool, I'm investing in this AI, and this is going to be my cost over the year, and how much is my return? So the POC will involve factoring all this, and believe me, a lot of these things are still being worked at, because costing has never been this complicated, right? In the previous world, it is a deployment. Nobody even asks what model. Like 5 years ago, it was, I'm deploying a Markov chain, I'm deploying this. Now it's like, no, I am deploying a model. There's like one model, and that model is going to cost this, and the token size and the memory and all these. It's a very different game, and there's costing for all of that, right? So yes, you need to have this. This needs to have executive approval and needs to be pushed from there. Once it has executive approval, you'll see that all the other all the other, all the other people will
Dominant.
eventually, departments will fall in line.
Right.
Thank you so much, Mario, for answering that for Satya. And so I had one question before I forget that. So let me please bring it because it's a question for all four of you over here, right? Be it enterprise, be it an SME that's growing, be it agencies as well.
Yeah.
Traditionally, all companies either run on the entry level model or the apprenticeship model where juniors do the grunt work to learn, right?
Yeah.
If AI now does the grunt work, which it does in a lot of cases, how do you train the next generation of creative directors, people coming in from management colleges, people coming into IT, or people coming into e-commerce roles? Does the entry level role even exist at your companies anymore? And how does it evolve if it does?
Anybody? I can go. So,
Yeah, Parik, you can
right.
kick us
So,
off as a.
so you rightly said that, of course, there will be a lot of skilling, reskilling that needs to happen, right? So, agentic, especially the agents, right? All the Nabil, he was talking about a lot of tasks, the mundane tasks, those are going to be taken care by
Yeah,
agent. Uh,
correct.
because all of this, if you look at an entry level versus the number of entry levels versus your agent, right?
Yes.
Uh, there is a lot of efficiencies. There is a lot of product product times and other things. If you look at the SLAs, everything is going to be really, really smooth without any cribbing. And those are 24/7 available, right? So definitely, this is going to be the agents, the human will be involved where it is required. So human touch is going to be the luxury, right? It won't be the default offering. It will be luxury for some time, right? And because wherever the and you will be paid premium for that wherever the humans are involved. That's what I feel, right? In the real run.
That's true and a hard-hitting, complex answer to be honest. Mario, what happens for enterprises? Maybe what happens for agencies? How do you all envision
Yeah,
the workforce going forward?
So it's interesting question. A lot of people are still, struggling to get to the bottom of this because, there was a time where, you could join a company, get trained on something and then get your job role. Now that's going to be done by agentic AI. So the whole notion of training itself is, and since you are, is changing, right? I mean, when 7, 8 years ago, we used to train a lot of people train in classrooms. You sit, you listen. There's Udemy. There's so many academies where you can sit and listen to lectures. And the drawback with that, right? I mean, I listen to all this, and then I have a question. Now, what do I do? We had this similar problem, right? I mean, you listen to videos and people ping me, "Hey, I had this question. Now, what do I do?" And in who said this? Satya just said it, right? When you joined the industry, you had ChatGPT. 10 years ago, no ChatGPT. The
Yeah.
equivalent was something called Stack Overflow. We used to go
Mhm.
to Stack Overflow and search what is that, and if we got lucky, somebody's answer would work because there were 15 other which were wrong, right? You pick that, it works, and but in today's world, the problem is what's the equivalent of that, right? So the notion of something called AI tutor is what is coming in, right? So you should be able to, I come in, I have a question, I prompt the tutor gives me answers. Now I'm in charge of my own learning now, right? But then the organization or the company should set a path for me. This is your path, and this is the competence we want you, and here are the resources at your disposal, right? You can watch these videos, you can learn, but there's a tutor, there's an AI tutor, right? And you can prompt it and it can talk to you. There's an avatar where you can have a conversation, can prompt you, and you can get, so the enablement becomes much more quicker because instead of wasting 2 hours sitting in listening to something where 15 minutes would be what I want, or maybe fast forwarding and wasting time, I can go directly to the tutor. So each organization will have their own, eventually, I guess, have their
Mhm.
own version of AI tutors where you can give anyone joining just a requisite gap or fill that delta what they need to take them. So people coming in, right? Anyone coming in could be able to gauge what they need to know to climb up to the next capability level of where their organization is. So what could happen is they'll be able to get productive sooner, and they all will be able to define what they can do a lot sooner because now they'll know exactly what skills they have and where they can be fit. But getting to this will take some time.
Mm. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Nabil, do you have a take on that?
I mean, Mario has pretty much summarized everything.
God.
Um, so I mean, I second him. I mean, there's not much that I can really add because fortunately, unfortunately, I'm not necessarily a tech evangelist, more of a business owner that deals with data tech, content and media, right? So obviously, in some areas, my knowledge is limited. I rely on experts. The only thing that I get to see is and I get to view is everything that I'm coming across in terms of platforms that are trying to solve things in the realm that I see right now. So in that context, Mario has summarized most of the things, right? So
Yes, he's
you
done
know,
a good job at that.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't really add too much to this, so to speak.
I
Yeah.
think also a viewer who is with us, Sairam, has also talked about this and framed this something of an AI assistant that is an hyphenated role. Basically,
Mm,
it
yes.
an assistance intelligence that's with us all the time in a manner
Yes.
which was never
Absolutely.
previously possible. So I understand,
Mhm.
Sairam, that's a perfect idea for the hyphenate role, which is what we're using at our company. I think Nabil is going to be using at his company. Mario is already enabling it.
Correct.
Puneet
Yeah.
has an entire business built on that, and Satyajit is deploying it to scale to 1 crore people. So yes,
Mhm.
that
Let me throw like an alternate kind of scenario out there. Where currently we are looking at where freshers are getting hired for their skills and they go and work in an organization, and that's how they get remunerated, right?
Yep.
So, like, since we are talking about agentic frameworks and agents in general, how about this, like, for a future scenario? And I'm just like thinking out loud over here of something that could may up, I don't know. So basically, if I had an agent of my own, a personal agent, right? And for example, I am a skilled artist. Like, I was a skilled artist by hand, but now I've started using AI, and now I've trained my agent to do exactly my style of drawings, and it just produces, and it's my unique style. It's not anything that's, even if it was from taken from an earlier style, I've fed it so much data that now that style is unique to me. So now maybe I can go out and take this agent and go to like an agency like Nabil's agency, like to how, and be like, hey, I am this sort of artist. I do this sort of art. Would you be willing to hire my agent? Like, not me personally. I wouldn't come to your office, but my agent would interact with your agent and kind of do the same job I was doing as a human, but this the agent would be doing it. And maybe if I have enough time, I'll develop many of these agents and employ them in different capacities and different places, industries. So I mean, it's just a thought of, an alternate to what could happen. I'm not saying this is something that will definitely happen, but I think because I also read about, these AI influencers being hired to do product shoots, or, shoots for brands and things like that, which is kind of similar. They are just doing the influencer model on it. But like, if you can add function to that through an LLM, I don't know, maybe something like that could be possible.
Wow. Okay.
So
That's
this
deep
so
thought
this
over
space
there.
very
is lots to
interesting.
evolve. In fact, one of the event where me and Akhil we were together at MIT Nanda
Uh-huh.
project, and it was clearly like there is government CEO who was sitting there. MIT guy, he created that avatar in front of him in next
Hmm.
less than a minute, right? He
Right.
said, "These are your details." Now he can do the interaction, he can do the negotiation in
Right.
place of you. So that
Right.
was
Right.
done. It is
Very
gonna be
interesting
there.
time, guys. Very interesting time for people who adore it, who absorb it, who evolve with it. Very interesting time for people who might fear this is just inevitable. So it is like how it is. And in the interest of time, loved having a discussion over here across 4 different sections of 4 different minds coming in and sharing their thoughts. Love this. Thank you so much for spending your
Thank you
time
so
1 hour over here and letting in with your good insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Akhil.
you
Thanks.
all.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
Akhil.
Akhil,
Yeah.
thank you for
Thanks, you
joining
guys.
us.
It was amazing being on
Nice
the
speaking
panel.
with all of you. Thank you.
Take
Look
care.
Yeah.
forward to being in touch. Yeah.
Yes.
Will be.
Thank
Take care.
you. Thank you, Akhil. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Pleasure catching up
Thank
with
you,
you
Sairam,
guys.
as well. Bye.